Just a small glimpse of the wonderful work that the Dialogue does in our continent. Well, it's an honor now to introduce an outstanding American leader, a woman who has served this country with great distinction. I'm sure you will all agree. She was Secretary of Housing and Urban Development in the Gerald Ford administration and the U.S. Trade Representative for President George H.W. Bush. In that critical role, she was a primary negotiator of the North American Trade Agreement, for which she was presented La Orden Mexicana del Águila Azteca, the highest honor awarded to non-citizens by the Mexican government. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the chair and CEO of Hills & Company and co-chair of the Inter-American Dialogue, Ambassador Carla Hills.
Well, thank you all. I wanted to add my welcome to Michael and to say this is a very special gala for the Inter-American Dialogue. You've heard that the dialogue is unique in that it has, of its membership, 17 former presidents of their country, more than 36 who have served at the cabinet level, and 17 have held seats in their nation's legislative bodies, and 25% of our membership are recognized as high achievers in the business world. That creates a rich network of leaders to foster good governance, prosperity, and regional collaboration to solve the very tough issues that we confront together. For 6 consecutive years, the Dialogue has been ranked by the University of Pennsylvania as one of the top think tanks of both foreign and US, and it is unique in the fact that it focuses on a single region of the world. The outstanding leaders that you will hear from tonight give evidence of the Dialogue's extraordinary outreach and convening capacity. And I am honored to be able to introduce the first person that we will invite to this podium, Ambassador Thomas Shannon. Ambassador Shannon was confirmed as Undersecretary of State this past February. Previously, he served 4 years as our ambassador to Brazil. Upon his return from Brazil, he was named as counselor to the Department of State, only the 7th Foreign Service officer to be named counselor, and the first in 32 years to hold that position. Ambassador Shannon is the highest-ranking Latin American expert ever to serve in our United States State Department. During his 30 years as a Foreign Service officer, a few of his many diplomatic roles include Assistant Secretary of State for Western Hemisphere Affairs, Special Assistant to the President, and Senior Director for Western Hemisphere Affairs for our National Security Council, Political Counselor to the U.S. Embassy in Venezuela, and Deputy Permanent Representative to the OAS. Ambassador Shannon graduated at the top of his class at the College of Williams and Mary, where he was elected Phi Beta Kappa. He earned his master's and his doctorate degrees at Oxford University studying politics. We are truly honored to have him here with us tonight, and I want to invite Ambassador Shannon to the podium.
Well, good evening, and thank you very much, Carla, for that very warm welcome. I'm rarely at a loss for words, but I'm struck a bit dumb tonight, especially as I look out across this crowd and recognize I'm with the Inter-American Dialogue. I'm with this extraordinary institution that has done so much for our hemisphere, but more importantly, I'm with all of its members, members of extraordinary distinction and significance, from Nobel Peace Prize winners to presidents to you name it. You're all people who have done extraordinary things in extraordinary times. But it's an honor for me, a humbling honor for me to have an opportunity to share a few thoughts and a few words with all of you today. And I do so honoring the United States Foreign Service and the women and men who work in the United States Foreign Service, especially those who have dedicated their careers to the Western Hemisphere and who have accompanied a remarkable part of the world on a remarkable journey, and who will continue to do so. As Carla noted, I've been around for a long time. I've been doing this for 32 years. And with the inauguration of our president-elect, I will have served under 6 presidents, and I will have seen 5 presidential transitions. I can assure you we can do this. But as we think about what comes next, and as we think about the tremendous challenges that face not just the United States, but our entire hemisphere, as we look out across a world that presents any number of security challenges, any number of economic and social challenges, I think it's important to take a moment and think about what this hemisphere has accomplished and what it means broadly for the world. Because as we flip through the daily news, whether it be on your phone or in a newspaper, you're struck by the challenges we face in Syria and Iraq in fighting ISIL, the challenges we face in Europe as it deals with mass migration crises, the challenges we face throughout the greater Middle East, in Turkey and beyond, the challenges that Pakistan and India face as they try to determine what Kashmir's future is, as we and others try to determine how to handle Russia as it prowls along its western and eastern borders, how to deal with a rising China and a rising India. But the reality is that in our own hemisphere, and especially in Latin America and the Caribbean, we've anticipated many of the challenges that the world faces today, and we found solutions to them, largely thanks to many of the people in this room, and especially for the kind of dialogue that has been generated. And when you think that this is a region that in short order has moved from authoritarian governments to democratic governments, from closed economies to open economies, from models of development built around autarkic development or import substitution to models of development built around markets and regional integration, and a region that has moved from isolation to globalization, it's a remarkable and significant journey. But as it's done so, and especially as it has built a shared sense of political values and common economic understandings, it has undergone a birth of dialogue, of innovation and creativity as sub-regions and larger regions have looked for ways to enhance their ability to communicate with each other, share their common interests and purposes, and look for ways to build cooperation and collaboration. And in the process, a region which has transformed itself politically and economically is on the verge of beginning the second great transformation of our hemisphere. And that is how you use democratic government to create democratic societies, and how you allow people who have the ability and the right to choose who will rule over them and who have a voice in determining their national destiny, now have an opportunity to demand of their governments the resources and opportunities to have a voice over their individual destiny. And the extent to which we now understand democracy, not just in political terms, but in social, economic, and cultural terms, is profound. And it creates a narrative of openness to individuals, openness to cultures, openness to the diversity of our hemisphere that I believe sends a very important and meaningful message to the rest of the world. And it does so in a way that should create confidence, because the fact of the matter is, in just a few decades, this is a region that has transformed itself socially, that has built out important middle classes, that has reduced poverty at remarkable rates, that has increased access to education, increased access to public health. And even though it faces significant challenges, and we're all familiar with them, the reality is that the accomplishments are greater than what we face. And this should be a source of enormous confidence, not only to all of us who have served in this region and all of us who live in this region, but for those who look from abroad and are trying to determine how they too can fashion a future for themselves that is meaningful and positive, and that will begin to address some of the really significant problems that the rest of this world faces today. So as we walk through this evening, a really wonderful evening, and have an opportunity to engage with so many important and significant individuals who have made such enormous contributions to our hemisphere, and as we award people who have played a significant role in this, it's important to understand that these are accomplishments not just for our hemisphere, not just for the Americas, but these are accomplishments for our globe and for our world, and they should send a very strong message to the leadership of all our countries that the more we work together, the more we cooperate and collaborate, the more we build dialogue, the more we create platforms in which we can recognize and respect each other, we will have a hemisphere that functions, and we will have a hemisphere that becomes a strategic reserve and platform, one that is energy self-sufficient, food self-sufficient, that is addressing important issues of environmental degradation and change and climate change, and which in the process is fashioning, as I mentioned, a social revolution of peaceful and democratic proportions. And so I just want to say what a tremendous honor and privilege it is to have a moment to speak with all of you and to let you know that you have accomplished something remarkable. It's something that's going to resonate through time, but more importantly, it will resonate in this town, especially as we prepare for an important change. So thank you very much.